Joining us now is Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Good morning, Congressman.
Hey, good morning.
Are you one of those weak and tired Republican leaders, or who's the president referring to?
I don't know. I mean, look, the one thing you learn now is loyalty is one way with President Trump. You know, if you have these leaders that have done a lot for Donald Trump and they don't follow through on this, then he'll throw them under the bus. I mean, you see, the president's two biggest supporters are the governor of Georgia and the governor of Arizona, both thrown under the bus. In fact, the Secretary of State of Georgia last night, the president said on his Twitter that his brother is owned by China, but I guess the Secretary of State doesn't even have a brother. This is kind of that moment we're in where just stuff comes out on Twitter. And, where I feel really bad, though, is just the people that are, struggling during the pandemic that are giving President Trump's campaign money for this recount because they believe him. And it's just a scam. It's a big grift.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, we have some numbers about that. I think the president has sent 554 fundraising emails since election night. So since election night, since he lost the election, what's he raising money for? And people are still giving him money.
Yeah, I mean, look, they believe in him, and I think we have to step back and understand, people that feel very disaffected. Donald Trump spoke to them, but here's the problem: is up until the election, it's an election. It's just a competition of ideas. But after an election, it has turned into an undermining of the democracy, and that's the differentiation between, people that say, well, Adam, was supportive of the president in the past. Well, the difference here is what it's doing to undermine our democracy, and the fact, again, that people, that work hard for their money, hardworking taxpayers, are giving their money to this because they are convinced, because the president's telling them this, that they can win, and they can't. And I mean, the scam in Congress with January 6th, all these members of Congress that are, posting crazy things so they can get a ton of followers and retweets and raise money. It's just, I think we have to call it out finally, because if we don't, people are just going to believe it.
And I want to ask you about what's going on Capitol Hill right now, because as you say, people are financially devastated by coronavirus right now. They desperately need those, whatever the number of the check is going to be, $600, $2,000, whatever. But yet Mitch McConnell is holding it up by adding two of the president's pet peeves to the $2,000 check proposal bill. So one about Section 230, which I've never heard any American around any dinner table say is one of their top priorities. And then another commission to study voter fraud, though the last one disbanded without any findings. And so what is that? What's Mitch McConnell doing?
So look, there's real concern about the deficit. And I voted for the $2,000 checks when they came up, I guess, yesterday or the day before. But look, we're coming out of here with $29 trillion in debt. We're going to have to make some sacrifice. So I think there's a legitimate question about what that size of that check needs to be. But my view on it is it's a time where we're in such a bad position that if you're going to spend money and you're going to put it in people's pockets so they can spend money, it needs to be now. And I don't know if Mitch McConnell's just slow walking it or whatever, but keep in mind, the president has just gone after Mitch McConnell now, and gone after anybody that's ever done anything good for the president, because he cannot take personal responsibility for his loss. He's got to put it on other people.
From where you sit, are you seeing Republicans distance themselves now from President Trump? I mean, for instance, voting to override the veto. Or are you seeing them still cater to his demands, such as Mitch McConnell larding up this bill with President Trump's demands? Which one is it on the Hill?
I think they're privately distancing more, which is, we've talked about this a lot. I wish more would speak out. But, I think they're starting to, I'll tell you, the base is starting to turn. I get texts every day. And granted, people that are mad at me that are my friends probably aren't going to text me. But a lot of people that I thought would be upset with, me kind of calling this out, that are texting saying, you know what, you're right, it's time. And nobody else is saying it. If the president says the election's stolen and nobody rebuts him, you're generally going to believe him. And so I do think it's starting to turn. I think he'll be a player in the Republican Party for sure. I just don't think he's going to be around as a player for as long as people are predicting right now.
That's interesting. I want to ask you about Congressman-Elect Luke Letlow. It's such a tragedy this morning, the news. He died after, as far as we can tell, 2 weeks of battling coronavirus. I mean, it just happened so suddenly. And from everything I've read, he had such a promising future in public service. I mean, he was about to be sworn in this Sunday. Did you ever have a chance to meet him?
Unfortunately, I didn't. When they all came out to D.C., we've been maintaining our distance. But everything I've read about him, a great guy, a great family man, my age. I mean, people, I think my age and younger tend to think they're immune to this disease or it's not going to bother them. He was a healthy guy. And, and just I think the ultimate tragedy, too, of being elected to Congress but not getting a chance to ultimately serve that great institution. And, my prayers go out to the family. And it's just a reminder to everybody, guys, this is a serious virus, right? You may be just fine. You may not. Let's just all do our part here, and we're going to get through it. We'll get vaccinated, and we'll be okay. But, this is a moment we got to take this seriously. And so my heart and prayers are with this family.
Do you have any idea why someone like Rudy Giuliani, in the first days of his illness, gets to have the Regeneron antibody cocktail in a hospital? He's not an essential worker, but regular people like Luke Letlow don't get something like that, access to that therapeutic?
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I did read an article recently that doctors were actually pretty astounded that that's not being given to people more often, basically that there's plenty of it, but maybe the doctors that are initially treating it aren't using it because they think it's more rare. I don't know the answer. I just know that we've made some really good strides, and hopefully that stuff, those therapeutics are getting better again as the vaccine rolls out. We get more vaccines approved. But, I think the president of the United States should obviously get the best treatment. I don't know what necessarily puts Rudy above a congressman-elect or anything, though.
Yeah. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much. Great to get your take on all of this morning.
Anytime. See ya.